Good morning. Good morning. Today is Sunday the 3rd, and we're going to start with the daily reflection on the New Testament. And if you could believe it, for how long I was going, I can't believe it's going to be September. I can't believe it's going to be September. I actually forgot today was Fast Sunday. How does that happen? By being a crazy person. Okay, we're going to start with the daily reflection. Then said the chief priests of the Jews to Pilate, Write not the King of the Jews, but that he said, I am the King of the Jews. Pilate answered, What I have written, I have written. John chapter 19, verses 21 through 22. The omniscient one moves in mysterious ways. He works his miracles in a fashion that we mortals would not have supposed. He speaks his decrees through the mouths of Nebuchadnezzar the Babylonian and Cyrus the Persian. Caiaphas the pernicious and conniving high priest surely did not grasp the full significance of his words when he said to the leaders of the Jews, Ye know not at all, nor consider that it is expedient for us that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation perish not. And finally there was Pontius Pilate, one of the most bloodthirsty and malicious leaders in Judea's history, refusing to yield to the entreaties of Jewish leaders to remove what he had written concerning Jesus of Nazareth, the blessed Messiah, the King of the Jews, the only and true King of the world. Okay, so today is 1 Corinthians 13, and this is a good chapter. This is a really good chapter. In fact, it was hard to pick a statement because there were so many good ones. Paul is up and down, I swear. Either it's so confusing I don't know what to pick, or it's so good I don't know what to pick, and that's this one. This one is about charity. You know, the charity suffereth long, charity never faileth. I'm a sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. But the one I picked is verse 4. Charity suffereth long and is kind. Charity envieth not. Charity vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up. And I just wrote, I shall suffer long and shall be kind. I must not envy. I shall not be puffed up. I could go on and on and on and on and on, but I'm not going to. But it's a good chapter, and I believe we have Jeffrey for this chapter. So I'm not going to continue on with my babbling when we've got Jeffrey. When we've got the man himself. Oh, indeed. Oh, indeed. Okay. The first element of divine love, pure love, taught by Paul and later Mormon, is its kindness, its selfless quality, its lack of ego and vanity and consuming self-centeredness. Charity suffereth long and is kind. Charity envieth not, is not puffed up, seeketh not her own. I have heard prophets and other leaders teach publicly and privately that most problems in love and marriage ultimately start with selfishness. In outlining ideal love in which Christ, the most unselfish man who ever lived, is the great example, it is not surprising that this scriptural commentary starts here. There are many qualities you will want to look for in a friend or close associate, to say nothing of a spouse and eternal companion, but surely among the very first and most basic of those qualities will be those of care and sensitivity towards others, a minimum of self-centeredness that allows compassion and courtesy to be evident. There are lots of limitations in all of us that we hope our sweethearts will overlook. I suppose no one is as handsome or as beautiful as he or she wishes, or as brilliant in school, or as witty in speech, or as wealthy as we would like, but in a world of varied talents and fortunes that we can't always command, I think that makes even more attractive the qualities we can command. Such qualities as thoughtfulness, patience, a kind word, a true delight in the accomplishment of another. These cost us nothing, and they can mean everything to the one who receives them. I like Mormon and Paul's language that say, one who truly loves is not puffed up. Puffed up, isn't that a great image? Haven't you ever been with someone who was so conceited, so full of themselves, that they made the Pillsbury Doughboy seem thin? Fred Allen said once that he saw such a fellow walking down Lover's Lane holding his own hand. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's a good one. Holy cow. Okay. Oh gosh, that's good. That is so good. Okay. Back to it. True love blooms when we care more about another person than we care about ourselves. That is Christ's great atoning example for us, and it ought to be more evident in the kindness we show, the respect we give, and the selflessness and courtesy we employ to our personal relationships. Love is a fragile thing, and some elements in life can try to break it. Much damage can be done if we are not in tender hands, caring hands. To give ourselves totally to another person, as we do in marriage, is the most trusting step we take in any human relationship. It is a real act of faith, faith all of us must be willing to exercise. If we do it right, we end up sharing everything, all our hopes, all our fears, all our dreams, all our weaknesses, and all our joys with another person. In all that Christ was, he was not ever envious or inflated, never consumed with his own needs. He did not once, not ever, seek his own advantage at the expense of someone else. He delighted in the happiness of others, the kindness he could bring them. He was forever kind. The second segment of the scriptural sermon on love says that true charity, real love, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil, rejoiceth not in iniquity. Think of how many arguments could be avoided, how many hurt feelings could be spared, how many cold shoulders and silent treatments could be ended, and in a worst case scenario, how many breakups and divorces could be avoided if we were not so easily provoked, if we thought no evil of one another, and if we not only did not rejoice in iniquity, but didn't rejoice even in little mistakes. Temper tantrums are not cute even in children. They are despicable in adults. Heard. Especially adults who are supposed to love each other. We are too easily provoked. We are too inclined to think that our partner meant to hurt us, meant to do us evil, so to speak. And in defense or jealous response, we too often rejoice when we see them make a mistake and find them in a fault. Let's show some discipline to one another. Act a little more maturely. Bite your tongue if you have to. He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh a city. At least one difference between a tolerable marriage and a great one may be that willingness in the latter to allow some things to pass without comment, without response. Thirdly and lastly, the prophets tell us that true love beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. Once again, that is ultimately a description of Christ's love. He is the great example of one who bore and believed and hoped and endured. We are invited to do the same to the best of our ability. Bear up and be strong. Be hopeful and believing. Some things in life we have little or no control over. These have to be endured. Some disappointments have to be lived with. These are not things anyone wants in life, but sometimes they come. And when they come, we have to bear them. We have to believe. We have to hope for an end to such sorrows and difficulty. We have to endure until things come right in the end. One of the great purposes of true love is to help each other in these times. No one ought to have to face such trials alone. We can endure almost anything if we have someone at our side who truly loves us, who is easing the burden and lightening the load. In this regard, a friend from my BYU faculty, Professor Brent Barlow, told me some years ago about Plimsoll marks, Plimsoll. As a youth in England, Samuel Plimsoll was fascinated with watching ships load and unload their cargo. He soon observed that regardless of the cargo space available, each ship had its maximum capacity. If a ship exceeded its limit, it would likely sink at sea. In 1868, Plimsoll entered Parliament and passed a Merchant Shipping Act that, among other things, called for making calculations of how much a ship could carry. As a result, lines were drawn on the hull of each ship in England. As the cargo was loaded, the freighter would sink lower and lower into the water. When the water level on the side of the ship reached the Plimsoll mark, the ship was considered loaded to capacity, regardless of how much space remained. As a result, British deaths at sea were greatly reduced. Like ships, people have differing capacities at different times and even different days in their lives. In our relationships, we need to establish our own Plimsoll marks and help identify them in the lives of those we love. Together, we need to monitor the load levels and be helpful in shedding or at least readjusting some cargo if we see our sweetheart or friend is sinking. Then, when the ship of love is stabilized, we can evaluate long-term what has to continue, what can be put off until another time, and what can be put off permanently. Friends, sweethearts, and spouses need to be able to monitor each other's stress and recognize the different tides and seasons of life. We owe it to each other to declare some limits and then help jettison some things if emotional health and the strength of loving relationships are at risk. Remember, pure love beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things, and helps loved ones do the same. In Mormon's and Paul's final witnesses, they declare that charity, pure love, never faileth. It is there through thick and thin. It endures through sunshine and shadow, through darkest sorrow, and on into the light. It never fails. So Christ loved us, and that is how he hoped we would love each other. He's so good. He's so good. All right. I will leave you with a prayer from a diary of prayer. It is the 3rd. And this one is a Jewish prayer. Though our mouths are full of song as the sea, our tongues of exaltation as the fullness of its waves, and our lips of praise as the plains of the firmament, though our eyes gave light as the sun and moon, though our hands were outspread as the eagles of heaven, and our feet were swift as hinds, yet should we be unable to thank thee, O Lord our God and God of our fathers, and to bless thy name for even one of the countless thousands and tens of thousands of kindnesses which thou hast done by our fathers and by us. All right, that was 1 Corinthians chapter 13, and next week we do, oh boy, we do 14, 15, and 16, and these are all going to be split chapters because it's 3 chapters for 7 days. So Tomorrow is 14 verses 1 through 20. And then Tuesday we finish up that chapter. And then 15 is broken up into 3 days. And then 16, 15, 1, 2, 3 days, yeah. And then Saturday and Sunday is chapter 16. So, we might be a little strapped, but that's okay because tomorrow's Labor Day and we get a break. All right, I'm done. I love you all. Have a happy Sunday. Bye.